by. Sunday chat today may end up being quite short because I'm a bit bleh. I had a tummy upset last night, so I've lost a fair bit of last night's sleep. Now I can do without, it's not that necessary when you get to my age, but I just feel a bit today, a bit drained. So we'll have a look at a few plants, no real subject today. Been having trouble with the battery on the camera. It's basically come to the end of its life, which means for the amount of time you put charging it, it says it's fully charged and it's only got half the number of minutes that it used to once have. So I ended up needing another one, obviously, and I went on eBay and had a look round, and a genuine Canon battery for this is £129. You get 10 disposable cameras for that. Anyway, I found a substitute battery and I thought I'll give that a risk. That was actually on Amazon, not on eBay, and it had a guarantee and stuff, and it sounded reasonably genuine. So I thought, as it's only 30 quid, we'll go for that. That still seems a lot for a battery. Anyway, it arrived, and I thought, well, the first thing to do is to run it flat and then put it on and get a full charge into it, because you don't know how long it's been stored. So I put it in the camera, and I just left the camera on. I just drained the battery basically and ran it flat, and then put it on charge, and roughly in the same amount of time that the other one used to charge, it charged and it was fully charged. Now the other one lately on a full charge has been registering about 140 minutes. Now when that Canon battery was good, it used to register about 340 minutes when it was fully charged. So you could see it was obviously deteriorating. This one registered 445 when it was fully charged. So it looks like it holds more charge, but how long is it going to last? That's really the important thing. I mean, I don't mind charging batteries up when they get flat, doesn't worry me. I just plug them in out in the kitchen and leave them until the green light comes on. It's no big deal. But obviously when it's coming round frequently, because the number of minutes is dropping down, you start worrying about, now have I got enough battery to film what I'm going to do? So anyway, this looks like a good substitute for the real thing, as it seems better. That makes a change, doesn't it? It's not normally that way round. Right, let's have a look at some things. I wanted to get this down for two reasons. I did ask in my part 4 of the 2021 Project Orchids. One of the plants had a pronunciation issue, so I thought I'll put it out there and see if I can get a genuine answer. Well, apparently somebody's been on the American Orchid Society website. Well, is that a correct pronunciation? I'll run with it. But apparently these are Rhenantheras, not Rhenantheras as I've been saying it. The AN is the dominant, the bit you raise your voice to. So that's how we'll pronounce it from now on. We'll practice. But I wanted to show you this because it's coming to life. We've got root growth up here, got nice big new roots coming out, pointing at an angle where it's going to get in the media. That's good. And then we've got another one, the next leaf joint up. Unfortunately that won't get in the media. Then there's a root round here under that, let's come around that side, under that leaf. That's also got a new shoot. And down in the pot, I did see, yes, there's a root branching down in the pot. So this one is, the root activity is starting. That's always a good sign that the plant is a bit happier. And also there's a big bulge on that leaf as well. There's going to be a new root there as well. So that'll be 3 new roots coming out of the stem so far, and extensions going on in the pot in places. Yeah, so I'm quite pleased. This, the aerial roots have all got growing tips on. So we've got active root growth. Now this has grown on slowly through the winter. It's a primary cross, this one. It's called Calcium. You can look up what's in it if you like. But one of the species that's in this, it's a primary cross, is actually one of the ones that's more cool tolerant, so it doesn't need quite so much warmth. So that should make that one happier. So we've got some activity there. So the sort of rescue one that was part of the part 4 thing, that gives me more hope for that one, because obviously if the Rhinantheras are coming into their happy period and starting back, then that one should do something soon as well. So that was one I wanted to show you. The next one is this one. Now, this is a Littoria type, obviously. Masses of blooms. It's blooming on most spikes that aren't new growths anyway. But when it opened, I was a little disappointed because it's got rhodostictum in it. I was expecting that to be quite a dominant feature. And the dominant feature of that particular bloom is what I call its wings. It's the fact that it looks like a bird that's just taken off, you know, and its wings are high, ready to flap down and get lift. And the blooms weren't doing it, but they need time. All they needed was time, because they're doing it now. And look far more like a bird taking off with those. Effectively, it's the other 2 petals. Yeah, so between the 3 sepals, the 2 petals ride high, but the blooms themselves hang down like most Littoria, so you've got to get underneath to see them. But yeah, so the disappointment's gone now. They do open up more like a rhodostictum, which is what I wanted. So that's good. We'll have some good stuff now and again. What else? Oh yes, we've got a little cattleya with 2 buds, one of which is just starting to open. Now this is little lemon drops crossed with Littoria why not? And you're thinking to yourself, didn't that used to be in a pot? Well, yes it did. And it got taken out of the pot and put on a mount. And since it's gone on the mount, we've got some root activity. Oh, it hasn't been on here long, don't forget. So we've got some root activity. We had some old rotting parts of the plant had to come off. And we've got our first 2 buds. So it's sort of recovering, because it was in a bit of a bad way. It sort of went downhill. I wonder why that was. Possibly it got sprayed with something rather nasty. Duh. That was me. Anyway, it's coming back. It's coming back. So we'll have that bloom out soon. The colours on that are lovely. It's always been a popular little cattleya, that one. Nice compact plant. And I thought I'd lost it. I really did think I'd lost it. So I've just about managed to get it to hang on. So a few new roots and blooms that I've allowed to open, as there's only 2. So it's not going to drain the plant that much. Not just pushing out those 2 blooms. So that's that. I can't get that out. My Dendrobium nester buds are swelling now. They're not showing their colour yet. Very strange, because they're a deep purple when they come out. But you know, I mean, I can count the buds now. They're very distinct. They're very showy. Oh yeah, we'll have a look at this. Now I showed you this when I said I've got a spike, and then as I looked, the more I looked, the more spikes I saw. And that wasn't that long ago. It might have even been last Sunday. But boy, are these spikes taking off now. We've actually got 4. It's a strange thing actually, because we've got spikes. We've got 2 spikes coming out of this pseudobulb. That is an old leafless bulb, and it's pushed 2 spikes out, one on each side. Now, I've never seen that on an Oncidium before, ever. But anyway, so that accounts for 2 of the spikes. And then over here, we've got a slightly newer bulb that's still got its leaves. That's pushed out a spike, but only 1. And then we've got this growth over here that again has only pushed out 1 so far. But look at it, it's going mad. And an indication of how many blooms we might get is given by having a closer look at these buds. These buds are not buds. Take a close look at them. They're a spike on a spike, and each one of these looks like it's got 6, 7, 8 particular individual buds. So each one of these is going to become a branch with many blooms on over the whole length until it gets to the single. But oh no, there are even spikes on the end of the cluster. So that's going to be a lot of blooms on that spike, followed by 3 others that are going to do the same thing. That's going to be quite a show. And if our virtual table display competition is still going, that could do well with that number of blooms. But I've never seen an Oncidium push a spike out on both sides of an old pseudo bulb that's lost its leaves. That to me is incredibly unusual. Which also means in principle, I suppose, that whereas this bulb here is a newer bulb, it's got its leaves and it has a single spike, at some time in the future it may produce a spike on the other side, because it is capable of pushing out 2 spikes, one each side. But it's strange that the big bulb didn't do it, the new one. Oh well, maybe it will later. Maybe, you never tell. Just have to keep your eye on these things. Right, so that's, oh I forgot to say what it was. It's Oncidium chrysomorphum, so an Oncidium species. That was a gift from Zena in the first little set of gifts she sent me. So I'm pleased with that. That is pushing on really well. And I've had to move it because the spikes were disappearing in the shelving where it was before. They were going out either side, so we've had to move it onto a higher shelf where I've got room. I don't want to stake those long spikes. I don't want that sort of look. I want it to do its own thing, and that means I've got to go careful, because every time I pick the plant up to water it, I've got spikes sticking off in various directions. So that was that. I do believe, at long flipping last, no guarantee mind, this is my Dendrobium delicatum, and it's never bloomed, and now is their time. Now is the time when they're normally coming into bloom. Now this was just a kiki that I got from Sarah at a show. She had a little bunch of them. I made some sarcastic remark like, "You're not open to sell those sticks in a pot, are you?" And she said, "Boy, do you want one?" I said, "Yeah." So she let me have it cheap, for being so cheeky, basically. But yeah, those nubbins do look like they might be swelling, so we might get some blooms on it. Delicatum is quite a popular. It's a Kingianum style. Can grow into a massive plant. This seems to be taking its time to do that, I must admit. But we've got the swelling at the base here, so it's going to push a new cane up soon. 2 or 3 would be good. You know, at the moment it just seems to be doing 1 a year. It's going to take a long time to get to a specimen plant. But delicatum it's one of those, if you see it written properly, it'll be a lowercase d for delicatum, implying it's a species, but it'll have an X in front of it, because it's actually a natural hybrid. So that's the way they're supposed to be represented. So it's effectively a natural occurring hybrid in the wild. That's the way they're supposed to be written. What's in it I can't remember, but I suspect one of them is Kingianum. The blooms are very similar. It can vary in colour, delicatum, from pure white through to some soft pinks. I don't think you can get a deep pink colour, but yeah, it's a very attractive plant. And I've got a friend in one of the orchid societies that has a specimen, one of these. It's actually was in last month's competition, so it's actually in the magazine. And I've also seen it previous years in shows, and it just gets bigger and better every year. So, yeah, so that may be going to shoot. So there's a lot of wind out there today. It's pushing the whole side of the greenhouse. Please stay up. I was looking round the, if you remember last year I said about the nest cams, the live camera feeds on the Osprey nests. Well, I've sort of refound them all for this year. Some of them are now occupied. Still waiting for other halves to turn up in some cases. And I'll put a link in the description. There's a volcano erupting in Iceland, and they've got a live feed, so you can actually watch it. And Also, it's got the scroll back facility like there is on live. You know, you grab hold of the red dot and drag it back and you pull it back in time. And certainly last night about 11:30, 12 o'clock, it exploded basically and blew all the sides off. So it looks quite different this morning in the daylight. And they also had a snowstorm where you couldn't see a thing, despite it being an active volcano. But that's it's almost mesmerising to watch it. But I can only watch it on, because obviously that's a popular event, you know, that's a worldwide event. The chat on the side is going at 90 miles an hour, and the poor old moderator's having a lot of trouble because there is some stupid stuff going on in that chat. If you come to watch a live volcano feed, what are you doing? Buggering about in the chat, basically, making silly comments like, "I've been shutting my washing machine, can you help me?" Duh! I don't know whether it's actually kids, I mean it could be children or adults that haven't grown up yet, but I can only watch it sensibly on full screen, which cuts the chat off because it's distracting. It's just silliness and nonsense, and people arguing over whether ice can evaporate or whether it has to melt first. Who gives a... Turn that into a row and then suddenly they disappear because the moderator just chops them. Good on you, mate. But I'll put the link in there. Some, you know, might be interesting for some. Right, so what's happening with you? Let's have a look at you. Oh, this is something that I didn't expect to happen. Grew a nice new cane on this black hair type, Cariniferum. I'll get it in there somewhere. The N's and the R's get muddled up. And I was only expecting, if at all, blooms on the latest cane. And it's pushing out buds on both of the older canes as well. So all three of the canes have a bud in the apex. But now we can see in that apex there are two. Yeah? So it may well be that the older canes really do only have one bud. Because it's a new one on me, I didn't know whether they were going to be sheaths that would open and then a set of buds would come out. But it looks like they are actually individual buds. So we're going to get some blooms on that. And apparently the fragrance on this smells of tangerines. So that will be interesting. Very interesting. Probably smell like we've got a chocolate orange in here. Terry's chocolate orange. While we're on the subject of the black hair types, if I can get it out. Ugh. Not that one. Not you. Not my pinguicula. But this one. Knocking it. Look at the difference in the bud size. Now we're talking big buds. Yeah? This is infundibulum. Infundibulum. Sorry. When you've been saying it wrong for a long time because you find the word comical, I'm sure you can see why, trying to say it properly, so as not to upset people, can be difficult at times. Infundibulum. With two nice buds, and what I wanted to show you is the older spikes, if you look, have bloomed there, there and there. So it obviously is capable of blooming farther down the cane. And if you look on the cane with the buds out to the side there, that nubbin to me looks like it's swelling up. So we may have some more buds. Now if this is a typical black hair type, those buds are going to last a long time. They may last long enough that this may actually grow and bloom and come alongside these, which will make a bit of a better show. Okay, there's only two buds on there, that's not a lot. It's not a mature plant, it's only got 3 canes. And it's a division, which is why they're all currently leaved and all roughly the same size. It's been taken off a large plant, rather than grown on, if you know what I mean. But yeah, 2 blooms on canes this size is not good. This plant can produce 5 or 6 blooms per cane on multiple canes on a well-grown plant. But as I say, I haven't had it long. I got this from Burnham's last year, I think, didn't I? Probably. Maybe not, I can't remember. Anyway, these are going to open in the not too distant future, and they are large. quite honestly, for people who don't really know the detail level, if you took a glance at these when the blooms are open and couldn't see the cane, you'd say it was a cattleya. They are big, you know, well-shaped and rounded blooms. They look very much like cattleya blooms, rather than dendrobium blooms. Right, see if I can get that back without knocking it. That just fits under there, only just. Really only just as well. That's the problem, is that when you get a plant that's really tall, it can't go on any of the lower shelves, it needs to go on a top shelf, and there's only so many of them, and they have got quite bright light. And I would say, you know, this top shelf up here, which is mainly cattleyas, that would be too much light for a black hair type dendrobium. They like good light, but not like that, not as much as that. They're in the next level down, as is most of what's in here, quite honestly. I've got very high light, that's the cattleyas, the rhinantheras, that little set, that's very high light. Next level down is high light, that tends to be top shelves and stuff up near the roof, yeah? And then there's other shelves, which is the next level down, which I suppose I'd have to call medium bright. And then below that you get medium towards more shady. Then on the lowest shelves it could be quite shady. Or it is now the sun's getting higher. During the winter those bottom shelves are probably getting nearly as much light as the top shelves, because the light's coming in from the sides. You know, as the sun goes round it's low in the sky. But it's getting higher and higher in the sky now. We must be almost up to 13 hours by now. I think 13 hours clicks over 2nd or 3rd of April, something like that. So it's coming soon anyway. We'll be starting to get into the elongated day lengths, which in the UK, because the light's not as intense as in the tropics, it's good to have those longer days, up to about 14 and a half. And then after that, some of the plants struggle a bit because they don't get enough night time. They don't get enough rest, like downtime. So they can overextend a bit. Talking of time, the UK did its usual trick last night or early this morning and rolled its clocks forward an hour. So effectively everybody moans, oh, I'm going to lose an hour's sleep. No, you're not. It's Sunday today, there aren't that many people got to get up, so just stay in bed the normal length of time and then get up. When it hits people is when they got to get up and go to work on Monday, because it's going to look a bit different Monday morning when your alarm clock goes off. So if the clocks go forward, we get the lighter evenings now, but we go back to dark morning. So people are. I always remember when I used to start work relatively early after the clocks change this time of year. You get up in the morning and you head off in your car, and there's loads of cars driving around with no lights on, because they're used to it being light and they don't need their lights, so their brain's not in gear yet, they haven't had enough coffee, and they just drive around with no lights on. Because all your dashboard lights up nowadays doesn't exactly tell you your outside lights aren't on. And when you're in lit streets with actual street lamps, you can still see where you're going. You don't miss the fact that your headlamps aren't on. Everybody else does. You get people coming to work. I don't know, I bloody hell's up with that traffic this morning. Everybody kept flashing me. Yeah, dopey, your lights aren't on. Yes, but there'll be a lot of that for a few days coming this week. Won't affect me. I've got nowhere to go, nothing to do, no change there. Yeah, I'm probably going to call it a day now. As I said, I'm feeling a bit low. The virtual show for the Orchid Society, actually this is its closing day, so when I get up tomorrow morning I've actually got a lot of work to do on the computer, so there might not be a video tomorrow. Basically all the pictures that have been sent in, 2 per, one of the plant, one of the blooms, and we extended the end date to try and get a few more in, and we extended the number of plants from 2 to 3. And I've had a mad flurry of 3 more people put some plants in. And one of those was only making, putting the extra 1 in because they were allowed to. Anyway, I think I've got most of what I'm going to get. I doubt if I'll get much more today. So tomorrow, I've got a desktop publishing software that I use, and I've basically got a basic document that's ready. It's got an editor's page. Hello, good morning, how are you? Thanks for joining in, blah, 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 waffle, 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 signed Roger. And then it's followed by a section for each of the classes. And they're all empty at the moment, so it's just a matter of getting the pictures in, resizing them to the page, and putting a bit of text with each. I'll put 2 pictures on a page, I think, because it's only going to be a PDF. You know, it's just going to be you just use Acrobat Reader to view it. So we're not worried about anything else. It's just to view. You know, nice big pictures. Well, I thought that might work. So a plant per page, basically, 2 pictures per page per plant. I might have to rethink that because that could be an awful lot of pages. What have we got? 8? 7's 15. Yeah, it could be about 30 pages. Is that going to be too much for people to bother with, to actually bother looking through? Once they've found their own and say, oh, mine's in there, good. Out. Don't want to see everybody else's. But yeah, so I've got that to do, and then I've got that'll have to go off for proofreading. Somebody else does that. There won't be much text to proofread, quite honestly, because the 2 pictures on a page will just have the plant name, really, and whose plant it is, and by the time I finished, whether they actually came first or second or not. But obviously, to get them first or second, all of these classes have got to be bundled up and sent off to the judges, and then I've got to wait for them to get back to me. So the magazine publication might not go out till the end of next week, knowing the judges and their I asked them if they didn't mind doing it, and they said that's fine, glad to help, because we're sending them off to the judges at the other Orchid Society. The problem being at this Orchid Society where the competition is taking place is a lot of the judges will have entered plants. They're also committee members, and there could be people saying, I wonder if there was any shenanigans going on, you know, with the points. So if we send them off to judges in another Orchid Society, they're anonymous, they don't know whose plants they are, so they just award the points based on the pictures. So we thought that would be fairer. But it's a bit more hassle for me, but so be it. We will get it done. And there's no rush to get the publication out. You know, I mean, the show it's replaced would have been in March, and this isn't going to come out until it goes on into April, but, you know, so what? It's just, you know, it's just a bit of fun. It's a virtual show, it's not the real thing. So we'll get that done. And so I was seeing something strange. My Dendrobium nester, on one of the old leafless canes, it looks like it's growing a large, strong kiki at the end of one of those canes. Now, if it does, I will try and start a new plant, whereas before I'd have probably just stuck it at the base of the plant and let it grow in with the other one. But with Brexit and everything and the shortage of plants, you know, that could be useful to somebody else, a plant that they really want. Down the line a bit, I mean, it's about that long at the moment, so it's not even got leaves on yet, let alone roots. So we'll wait a bit for that, but yeah. My Herco Blossom buds are now the start of the spikes, they're not buds, because they grow a little spike that opens up into some buds. There's now too many to count, so that's coming soon. Oh, you'll like this as well. Now this plant lives in the roof. It's a nobly type, and it lives up in the roof. And in my notes, it says it's in bud. And the buds were on that cane, and a slug has eaten them all off. So it's no longer in bud, because that was the only cane that had the buds on. I suspect some of the other canes will follow and get some buds a bit later down the line, but that cane there had buds on, and they've been eaten off. There's a nubbin down here that obviously hasn't been eaten off because it hasn't extended yet, so we still might get some blooms on that cane. But yeah, I was really annoyed. It just literally went up the cane and took the buds off. Never touched the leaves. And I don't know whether I've found that or not. you know, the actual critter. I've certainly never found it on that plant. But as I said, that's up in the roof. You know, they must have blinking ropes and scaffolding and stuff to get up there. Little tykes. So there's no hiding place. You know, if you think, oh, it's all right, it's up on a wire. They can't get up there. Yes, they can. If they've got something down there that they fancy eating, they'll, you know, they'll get up on your wires, they'll get up on your tool racks. They'll get everywhere. Little tykes. So I'm looking around, there was something else I wanted to show, but I lost it. Ah, yes, it was the 2 Miltonias that are the feeding project. This isn't a formal update, that will come soon, but last time I watered these, I did actually notice that it's just so difficult to show. The new growth, the roots on the new growths are now starting to show quite clearly and extend. So it won't be long before we see new roots going down in the pot. So all 4 of the new roots are doing that. And on this one, I don't know whether I can dig it out, but and not tip all the bark off. I doubt if you're going to see this, it's too dark. But down in there at the base of this pseudo bulb is a new shoot on top of this new shoot. So it looks like we might get an extra new shoot on that one. Just cover them roots up again. Trying to keep these roots covered if I can, so that they get straight into the media. But yeah, so that one's, the roots are extending quite nicely, and the other one is doing the same thing basically. That's the easiest one to see because that one's slightly raised. Yeah, so you can see the roots coming out there and there, lots of them. So they're all in this. These plants are still running alongside each other. They're still doing the same thing at the same pace, which is what I expected. I don't expect to notice any real difference in, you know, because they're getting a different feed. They're not even getting fed that much yet. Basically, I'm waiting for those roots to get going to add some oomph into the plants. Then we can start feeding one a lot higher. That's the idea anyway. Yes, the slugs as well had my prima donna. I must get these old canes off and get this thing tidied up. Yes, this cane round here has got buds on that are opening, and this one also had buds on, but it's snails or slugs, I'd say it's probably slugs, not snails, have had a couple of those as well. But that one looks like it's going to make it. Although its tip got eaten off, it looks like it's still going to produce some buds. So that's the second flood of blooms, well, second little set anyway. This first set on here are starting to show signs of aging now. There's one there that's actually gone. So these are going to drop soon. They opened roughly together, so they will close roughly together. So that's good. Right, so that's going to do for today. I'd like to say there's some spikes coming on the Tilumnias, but there isn't. The plants are growing okay, and there should be some spikes soon, but not yet. Just not yet. I think some of it might be that I really need to increase my frequency on the watering of the mounts now, because when the sun comes out it gets quite warm in here quite quickly. We've got the day lengths now as well. I keep forgetting that day length getting longer and longer. You know, there's going to be more trying to happen with the mounted plants now, and sticking to 3 days, I think I need to come down to 2. Obviously once we get into the full season with the weather and the heat every day and the really long days, it'll be daily, and that's when I may have to get the sprayer out again, because it can get a bit much to take them all down and individually water them. So they'd get watered like that thoroughly every other day, and then the day in between they'd just get the sprayer. So we'll start on that soon, I think. Oh yes, there was. I knew there was something, and it's this strange thing. Now this came from Jeff, and it's a Anachelium, I think that's pronounced, and it's Pachycephalum. Read it, it's much easier to just read the flipping thing rather than listen to me try and pronounce silly names. So that's what it is. Now, I've never heard of it. It has an Oncidium look about it, but it isn't an Oncidium, but it does have similar bulbs. It's doing its thing with the roots now. It's pushing out an awful lot of roots, and most of the older bulbs on here have bloomed. So when I watered this, I was desperately looking for the new growths, and there's one there. I keep forgetting this. It's quite difficult to get these to show on the camera. Down in between those two leaves, if I can get my fingers out of the way, is a spike with multiple buds on. So I'm trying to watch the screen and move accordingly. I hope you can see that. But in between those two leaves is a spike, and it has a set of blooms on of, I can see at least 4. So we're going to get blooms on this soon, and the other new growth over here isn't showing any signs of a spike yet, but who knows, it may do. And this plant just keeps bugging me, because I keep thinking what I think are either scale or mealybugs, and it's actually this. It's some sort of white rock. It's not perlite, it's too hard. Some sort of grit that's obviously fallen on this plant at some point and got in some of the leaf joints, and it drives me up the wall, because I keep thinking it's bugs and it's not. So that it's good that it's not, but anyway, so we're going to get some blooms on that and find out what on earth they look like. And I don't want to know, I'm not going to look them up and see what they're supposed to look like. I'm going to wait and see. And yes, so we'll leave it at that. I suppose we'd better put the tag back in, haven't we? Try and find a place where there's no roots. Whack the roots, poking it back in. Yeah, so there's a few things coming on. There's a whole set of Oncidium intergeneric types that were bought last year for some colour. I think some came from Burnham's, I think, and when I was allowed to go there, and I think a couple may have come from Speciotics, but they're all very large intergenerics, very large bulbs, very tall leaves and everything, and they didn't have very good roots, as is often the case. They were in that peat-based stuff. They've been repotted, and they're all now doing very well. So I think I got them at the right time, and the new roots are pushing on nicely, as is the new growth. So they're all, well, I'll be highly surprised if they don't bloom when their growths mature. So we've got those to look forward to down the line. As I say, there's a set of them. There's 3 up there, and 2 down there, 5. And then we've got the big Miltonias that I got last year, the Regnellii, and then the 2 that we've just looked at, the ones in the feeding project. So all of those will bloom later this year. And we've got the Brassias, the Vericosa. That's got, one of the divisions has got 2 spikes on there. They're now 18 inches long, so they're pushing on. They're not even showing their buds yet. They've got a bit more up there to do yet before the buds form. And I will have to stake those, because I haven't got enough shelf space to let those arch over. They do look gorgeous. I've seen them at Burnham's. They often take them in their Orchid Paradise area, where all their specimen plants go when they're in bloom, which has been closed to the public for so long. It just looks a mess now. There's all dead leaves on the floor, but hopefully they're going to get it sorted out for the end of this year, when the whole place is open properly again. Hopefully. But they often take the Brassias in there and put them on like a log over the pond, you know, with the big koi in, and they arch right out over the water, you know, with the little waterfall. They look absolutely gorgeous and fragrant too, so really good stuff. And I'm looking forward to Burnham's opening again, and you know, as soon as I see the notice go up on the website, we're now open to the public, you know, and restrictions are such that blah blah blah, but under these conditions you can visit again. I'm off. I shall be off. Go and have a visit and see how things are going. And well, I know one person who wants to come as well, providing, so that's the problem. We could be able to go to the nursery and wear a mask and keep socially distanced, but having somebody else in your car is a different thing altogether. So we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, that may be to come. Thanks for dropping by, and as I say, no real subject today, but we've had a look at a few plants and things, so And we'll leave it at that, and I'll see you again next time.